Love, 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 love. The gospel in one word is love. Perhaps you recognize those words as a song sung in church. It was one that we sang when I was growing up in church, and maybe you did as well. But it speaks to the foundation of what we do as Christians: love. Here at Church of the Savior, during the season of Lent, we are looking at the 5 practices of discipleship. And the third one is serve. This sermon series that we're in is called Habitology. And habitology gives the sense that these practices that we do, we should have this mindset, develop this mindset that as we incorporate these practices into our daily and weekly rhythm, that they will become habits which nurture and grow us in faith as we walk with Christ. In his sermon on Sunday, Reverend Call mentioned 2 of the ways that we live that out here at Church of the Savior. So you are encouraged to, at least 2 times a year, serve outwardly, serving outside the walls of this church, whether it be in the community or in the world around us. Serve at least 2 times outside these walls. And then to do 5 acts of kindness each week. 5 acts of kindness. Can you imagine the impact it would have if we all did these 5 acts of kindness every week? So as I mentioned earlier, and as Reverend Call emphasized in his sermon, the foundation for serving is love. In Matthew 22, when Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment was, he responded with, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself." So we recognize that by loving God, we are also loving our neighbor. That in serving God, we serve our neighbor. And when we serve our neighbor, in return, we are serving God. I think that the goal of serving is to build relationships, to build community. The acts of kindness that we do, the nice things that we do are important. But I think our goal should be to form a relationship. The people that we are serving, to learn their stories, to know their names, to learn their experiences, and to listen well. As a clergy person, serving feels different than when I was a lay person, when I wasn't a pastor. I spend most of my week in church doing churchy things, but sometimes that doesn't translate well to time spent out in community. And we recognize that it takes time to find those places to develop those relationships. But it calls to mind a previous congregation I was serving as a pastor. There was a low-income housing complex just down the street from us. And beside that housing complex, there used to be a library. That library moved pretty far away, at least 2 miles away, so that the residents really could no longer access those resources at the library. So I have experience working in libraries for many years. My dad was a librarian. And one of the libraries I worked at, I worked in the children's department. And during my week, I had weekly story times. So I started going over once a week just to read stories to the children, but also to build relationships with the parents, the families, with the workers at that housing complex. The only end goal I had was to share the love of Christ and to serve those around me, to build those relationships and to be in community with others. That's the foundation of serving. That's love, making those relationships, making those connections. So I encourage you, as you're thinking about serving, where is a unique area? Where is there a gap somewhere that you can uniquely fill, that you have the unique gifts, assets, talents to meet those needs? I encourage you to think on that, pray on that, reflect on that, so that you can serve God and serve others. So as you go into your week, I invite you to think of those 5 acts of kindness that you can do this week, and to be also thinking of those 2 ways that you can serve outside the walls of Church of the Savior. As Christians, we are all called to serve. We are all needed, and there's a way that everybody can serve. And in so doing, you will show love of God and your love of neighbor. Blessing and peace to you on this day.